Writers Week. Get a round of applause for the music. Well done. A couple quick shout outs, then we'll get to the students. We have a great lineup for you today for second hour. Shout outs first, Tech Crew, right? Thank you, Tech Crew, for everything you're doing. You guys do a great job. Make sure you thank your parents and boosters for their support. We couldn't do this if it wasn't for your parents and their support. And then, most of all, thank all of you and your continued support and your love for Writers Week. We couldn't do it without the students. So thank you guys and everything that you guys do for this week. Right? So let's get right to it. We have first Kylie. Come on up, Kylie.
First off, shout out to Miss Christensen's second period. All right, let's get this party started. All right. Expectations. Expectations are how we build our nation. Refutations that keep our imaginations intact, stacked, free from attack. Call me nothing or call me an aristocrat. I'm just wandering through life aimlessly. Got nowhere to go, got nowhere to be. Hiding every thought that comes my way, trying to find a good place where I stay. Never fit in nowhere, never wanted to. Used to hate them, but now I want a tattoo. To remind me of the life I used to lead. To remind me of the child I used to be. Everything changes as time flies by. To change with it is my battle cry. You gotta adapt, clap, watch out for the trap, for this world is cruel, and all of us are tools. We gotta fight for a sight to make it right. Everything a puzzle, piece it tight. Together, whichever endeavor, we'll do it under the weather, no matter how much it hurts. I've had my heart broken. I've had my secrets spoken. I've learned from what I've lost. I've learned how to love. But I'm lucky, I know that. Most people aren't. We're human, we struggle, it's in the part. Sharing is caring, and they told me so. But the way I share is with riddles. Here's one for you. It's titled, Is the Meaning of Life True? Jokes are funny, unless you're the butt of the joke. Sarcasm is fantastic, unless it is overused. Laughter is good, until it becomes fake. Peace is welcoming, but not the calm before the storm. Love is beautiful, unless it isn't returned. Joy is valued, but it's fleeting. Enthusiasm is contagious, energy is wanted, but give me too much, and I'll explode. What all of us want, really, is to achieve a comfortable medium, a middle ground. Yet society always tells us to be nothing but the best. Sometimes the expectations of society surpass the limits of man, and we are all left stranded in sand. I'm not strong, but I can fight, if only using my words to express the weight of the boulder that all of us shoulder. Together, we can make a better world. This one's for you. Dang, man, you got skills, bro. You gotta show them how you roll, learn and grow in this life, man. You got stories, bro. You gotta show them how you roll. Jump to the top, stop. Reach up the cliff, lift. Love yourself, take a risk, you gotta try, man. Let life stream by, bro. You gotta show them how you roll, learn and grow in this one life, man. You got stories, bro. You gotta show them how you roll. Smile at their faces when they scare you half to death. Fear not their places. Go ahead, take a breath. In this life, you gotta refute the expectations, fight for your imagination, and create a better nation. Next up is Jenny Lopez.
When I was growing up, it was complicated to figure out who I was. The feeling of not knowing who I liked was confusing. Growing up with the wish to date a boy or to kiss a boy and feel a spark. But instead, I had this pain in my heart because I knew I was not attracted to the opposite gender. Instead, I felt more attracted to the same gender. I felt alone with my thoughts, not being able to trust anyone because of fear At age 12, growing up with a Christian uncle who thinks it is wrong for people of the same gender to love each other, when all my life I looked up to him. I am a girl who loved a girl with no interest in me. Getting a gut feeling that felt like it was more than a friendship. The butterflies that got around her were unusual. I had to face the facts that I was not straight. Everyone thought my feelings were confused. Growing up wasn't easy. With these thoughts, how would this affect me and others around me? How would my parents react to these feelings that they don't understand? This thought in the back of my mind, never knowing how it felt like to not trust anyone, when all my life I was an open book. But when it came to this one thing, I closed up. When I felt ready, I said it, and I was proud of who I was. I know I can love whoever I want because life is too short. And I've never felt more like myself until that day I came out to everyone. Next up, Lily Pascas.
Hello, everybody. Excuse me for just a second as I get this open. All right, I'm going to be reading you a short story of my very own. Here we go. Exile. Funny word, isn't it? Booted, kicked out, shipped away. No matter how many ways Sam could come up with another way to say it, she still couldn't change that fact. Dazed and extremely confused, Sam wandered the strange civilization she was doomed to stay at, shouting strange four-wheeled animals, not creatures, things that seemed to touch the sky, a smoggy gray sky encircling it all. She found a dark, crammed, and littered space and sat down. Why was she exiled? Could she piece back her ship to go home? Where would she go if she couldn't? Questions pounded in her head, demanding attention. Finally, after a couple of minutes, Sam decided she would piece back her ship to go home. At least if she failed, she could still say she tried. With this new spark of hope, Sam clumsily got up and walked briskly through the unfamiliar terrain. As she walked, she noticed trinkets of all sorts in many of the buildings she passed. They got stranger and stranger. One of the buildings showcased shiny metallic weapons. Another displayed a million twinkling lights, like stars in another galaxy. Yet another building had strange, statue-still creatures with no face. Distracted by all the strange things, Sam didn't notice a four-wheeled creature speeding towards her. As it was about to hit her, both creatures swerved out of the way. Both of Sam's hearts beat wildly. What just happened? Frightened, Sam ran past a gathering crowd who, in all the confusion, paid Sam no attention. Sam couldn't imagine why they didn't stare or at least give her a second glance. After all, she wasn't a creature like them. Sam had fish-like hands and feet, with almost claw-like nails. As Sam glanced back at the commotion, she felt a wave of guilt. The crowd was gathered around the four-wheeled creature, who crashed into a nearby tree. Nonetheless, Sam marched on. The sooner she could get to her ship, the sooner she could go home. All was silent. Every creature was either asleep or out hunting. Sam trudged along a dirt path. She contemplated if she should stop and make camp, but decided against it. A howl, followed by many snarls, interrupted her thoughts. Deeper in the shadows, many four-legged snarlers encircled her. There was something different, though. These snarlers were wild and fearsome. Sam couldn't tell which one was which, making it impossible to count them. One of the snarlers prepared to pounce while Sam was distracted. As it leapt into the air, something caught it in an intricately designed trap. Seeing their friend caught up, the other snarlers raced off into the night. Sam released a breath and continued. A few days passed of walking. She had finally reached her ship. In a window, a figure slumped over inside. Sam came closer and noticed it was her own brother Max. Bringing him to safety, Sam woke him up while he proceeded to warn her. But it was too late. A shadow crawled up behind Sam. She stopped it, but not good enough. It flung her aside and advanced for her brother. Sam cried out in terror as Max was thrown beside her. Coming closer, the shadow created a seemingly bottomless pit. Something hit her in the head. As everything faded away, her brother's cry rang out as he was thrown in. The last thing she saw was the shadow creeping towards her with a sinister grin. The end. Next up, we have the lovely Rosie.
Shout out to Miss Gerber's second period.
Let's go.
I'm reading a paper I wrote called Life Lessons. In my wildest dreams, there would be a cure for all childhood cancers. There would be better treatments that are less toxic and less harmful to kids on chemotherapy, with fewer side effects and long-term damages. It's unimaginable that 2/3 of the pediatric cancer patients will have lifelong chronic conditions, even secondary cancers, from all the treatments they have received. It's hard for me to understand that I have to take medications that make me so sick to make me feel better that will just make me sick again in the end. It really doesn't make sense. In my wildest dreams, there would be a shunt that doesn't clog or require replacements for people with hydrocephalus. It doesn't make sense that in this day and age of such amazing technologies that scientists can't come up with a better solution for trapped fluid on the brain. The shunt that I have was designed 50 years ago. I read that shunt replacement surgeries have the highest failure rate out of all surgical procedures. There is a brain surgery for hydrocephalus every 13 minutes in the US. And I'm only 14, and I've already had 16 brain surgeries due to my shunt malfunctioning. It really doesn't make sense to me. In my wildest dreams, there would be more acknowledgement that children are dying every day from cancer. In fact, pediatric brain cancer, the type of cancer I have, is the deadliest form of pediatric cancer. Childhood cancer in general is the leading cause of death by disease in kids under the age of 19. Only 4% of annual budgeting for cancer research is given to study pediatric cancers. It's just not enough. There are 100 different types of pediatric brain tumors alone. Why isn't more research being funded? It really doesn't make sense to me. The first memory I have of my childhood is from preschool when I was just 3 years old. That's when I first got diagnosed with a brain tumor and hydrocephalus. I have the brain tumors because I have neurofibromatosis or NF1. It's a genetic disorder that I've had since birth. NF causes tumors to grow on the nerves, inside and outside of my body. It's causing me to slowly lose my sight as well. Just recently, I've been having more medical problems and had to go back on chemotherapy. Last year alone, I had 3 brain surgeries because my shunt wasn't working. Around the same time, I got diagnosed with an extremely rare lung disease called NFDLD, which stands for neurofibromatosis diffuse lung disease. Only a few adults have been diagnosed with it since the 1950s. Like NF, hydrocephalus, and brain cancer, it too has no cure. I am the very first child in the world to have a reported case of this condition. It scares me knowing that my doctors don't know anything about it. It freaks me out that they don't know how it's going to affect me. They told me that my lungs could collapse at any moment and that it would be very painful. Knowing that has changed how I look at things now, and it has put limits on what I can and cannot do. Recently, my neuro-oncologist of 11 years moved to another state. It was hard for me at first because he was like family, and I miss him. My new doctor seemed sweet, but my first appointment with her was weird. I asked if I could see my brain scans on the computer. That day I found out I have a tumor near my brainstem, or an extension from my main tumor. I've always known that I've had multiple tumors, but my mom never told me I had one near the brainstem. I was shocked. My neuro-oncologist talked to me about that specific tumor and its changes, its slow growth. It worried me when I found out that my cancer had reached the brainstem, because most of my friends who have had a tumor near the brainstem or in the brainstem have all passed away. My mom said that's why she's never told me, so when I heard the news, it woke me up. It made me think, what am I living for? I've always thought that way, but it seems more urgent now. I've realized that if I want to make a difference for kids with child cancer, pediatric brain tumors, hydrocephalus, or NF, then I have to act now. But haven't I been doing that all along? My life so far has been about changing the pediatric cancer world by fundraising and spreading awareness, but I know there's so much more that I can do. We need action now. I am here on this earth to find out who I am. Do I truly know the inner me? I think I do, but I'm not quite sure if it's the real me or not. I don't know how long I have to figure it out exactly, but I'm going to try. I question everything now. Who am I? Me, myself, and I? I'm in my own thoughts, thinking about my own existence. Nobody can predict the future. Who knows how long any of us will be here? I've learned to live in the moment, be with the ones that I love the most, to live, laugh, and be grateful, to live life to the fullest. How are you going to live your life? It's all yours. It's a choice. Make your life count. Maybe in the end it'll all finally make sense. And up next we have Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah. Shout out to my second period, Mr. Schaefer's AP Lit class. I've never met anyone more incompetent in math than my 12-year-old sister Priscilla. I remember glancing at the problem, 12 times 7 on her math homework, a question that most people would immediately respond with 84. Not Priscilla. Instead, she physically drew out 12 by 7 dots and counted them to get her answer. I don't think she even counted correctly. Her answer was 80. It's not that she never studied for math, because she spent countless hours poring over a textbook each night trying to decipher formulas. She just never clicked with math, despite her studious nature and several tutors. One day after school, she slumped home with a dejected expression painted on her face. I immediately knew that she didn't do well on the math test that she was studying for the night before. Usually after school, she would fill me in on her typical 5th grade drama, like who has a crush on who or how Becky came into school with pink highlights. Instead, she plodded to her room and cried into her pillow until dinner time. As any older sister would, I felt my heart drop farther down my body with every sob that escaped her mouth. Seeing Priscilla so far alone motivated me to help her in any way I could so she could finally get the grades that she worked hard for. So I sat down with her and tried to figure out what she couldn't understand. Turns out it would have been faster figuring out what she did know. I honestly thought our tutoring sessions would be something like the zero to hero moments in cartoons where a fragile boy transforms into a sinewy man and saves the entire town from danger. However, even with my hour and a half assistance every day, her math skills did not seem to improve. Although frustrated that she couldn't grasp simple concepts, I brainstormed several techniques on how to explain math in a different way that made sense to her. As I learned in my AP psychology class, the best way of comprehending something combines hands-on learning and positive reinforcement. So adopting B.F. Skinner's method, we replaced her traditional textbook and notebook with cookies. Adding and subtraction mixed numbers never seemed easier to her, especially when she was awarded with the cookie when she got the answer correct. I, of course, couldn't have incorporated cookies with every lesson that I reviewed with her, so my brainstorming sessions continued. When she learned factors and multiples, we thought of mnemonic devices so she will remember the difference between them and how to go about finding the answers. For graphing data, we utilized a big whiteboard to draw a circle, bar, line, and other charts so she could make comparisons with each of them and understand why certain graphs were used over another. Through various methods, her grades started to improve, and she claimed that math was actually starting to make sense. Although the different learning techniques I came up were initially meant for my sister, I started to find creative ways to study my schoolwork as well. Seeing how the unique techniques helped Priscilla, I also want to apply them to my schoolwork. When I took anatomy and physiology last year, in addition to reading the textbook and taking notes on different protrusions on the bones, I bought a cheap model of a humerus and used that as my study tool. By physically being able to point out at bones such as the deltoid tuberosity or medial epicondyle, I was able to memorize the parts much more effectively than I would if I simply using a Quizlet. At the end of the day, I'm not a modern-day Anne Sullivan, so Priscilla didn't miraculously turn into a mathematician based on the methods that I used. However, her improvements are incredibly noteworthy and is something that I take pride in. As her teacher and sister, I feel as though her achievements are my achievements. I know that I didn't just teach her math. I taught her how to take various routes to problem solve until she reached her goal, something that I learned to utilize in my life as well. Priscilla and I were mutually benefited as this lengthy experience strengthened the relationship that I have with my sister, helped me learn how to balance my schoolwork in addition to hers, and pushed me to come up with innovative ways I wouldn't have otherwise done. Thank you. Next up is Emma.
Mr. Dawson asked for a shout out, so shout out to second period Lang. A few weeks ago, my mother showed me an editorial that she found in the Chicago Tribune. Usually when she does this, it's about something like college financial aid planning or the discovery of flesh-eating infections, which I briefly scan over and respond, yes, Mom, I do have a great amount of interest in, what was it this time? Fish-dwelling parasites. So, granted, my expectations were pretty low. However, this time, the column's heading caught my interest. It read, "When columnists of 2068 look back on today, what will make them cringe?" The editorial, written by Eric Zorn, discussed the things that he thought people 50 years from now will look back on with dismay from society today. Written as if he was in 2068 himself, Zorn mentioned our society's overuse of plastic and the fact that it will take centuries to decompose, and about how we have actual sports teams named the Washington Redskins or even the Chicago Blackhawks, completely disrespecting the culture and history of tribes that have been around for hundreds of years. As I continued reading the article, I started to reflect on how life functions today and how ignorant and unbelievable some people's actions can be. While I appreciate Eric Zorn's article, I had made point that he is a 60-year-old man who has experienced an entirely different America than I have as a 17-year-old girl. I decided that I, too, wanted to reflect on the discussion of change and how we as a people can benefit from it. So, here's my article from 2068 would have gone. When I was a child, almost every person had access to a smartphone of some sort. People from all ages spent hours on social media apps like Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, the list went on and on. Back then, everyone on these sites cared so much about their online image that they would change who they were as a person to fit the online expectation. It's hard to picture, compared to nowadays when people spend time doing things that are valuable to their development as a member of society. Deep down, back then all Instagram was a comparison game. People respected likes and followers over actual personality or meaningful contributions to their world, like saving the rainforest or ending child hunger. In the end, what people did for validation overthrew all of their values and beliefs. In 2018, I was a junior in high school, and over 100 people died from school shootings throughout the year. Before we established new laws restricting the availability of atomic weapons, children walked into school and sometimes never walked back out. Driving by the flagpole, it seemed as if the flag was stuck at half-mast position. Do you remember living in a time where this was the norm? People heard about another school shooting and were somewhat less affected by it, as if the shock factor wore off after the 60th one that year. How were cities like Chicago so prone to gun violence for so long without anyone making a change? Why did parents have to be afraid to send their children to school in fear that they wouldn't return home that night? Now, I'm not sure if you can recall, but at one point in our history, the United States was over $21 trillion in debt. Long before we fixed federal deficits and the country actually earned more than it spent, the debt count just kept rising and rising. People didn't understand national spending or even how something like tax revenue or trade deficit was calculated, so they stayed ignorant, avoiding the giant problem that was constantly looming over their heads. Finally, I feel obligated to point out the fact that the average woman in the United States in 2018 earned 85 cents to that of a man's dollar, and this average is even less for African American and Hispanic women. It had been almost 100 years since the 19th Amendment passed, granting women the right to vote, and yet a woman's work was still valued less than that of a man because of stereotypes put in place centuries beforehand. Thankfully, this has long been fixed, but it's even scary to think about how things went so long without necessary change. I will be 66 years old in 2068. Hopefully by then, we as a society will have changed how we deal with conflict and altered the way we approach life in general. Eric Zorn ended his editorial with, "There are some wounds that seem impervious to the healing powers of time and technology." We do not know what life will look like 50 years from now, or if anything will be different. However, we can only wish that our next few years will be better than that of our last. Thank you.
Another round of applause for our presenters. Okay, Kylie might have another piece, but while she's looking, I'm going to ask a question to our presenters for this hour. I didn't prompt you earlier, so I apologize. See what we can come up with on the spot. As you were going about writing these pieces, right, there was a process you went about doing so. Can you describe to the audience what that process was that got you to this stage presenting these pieces? I'll let you, Kylie, pass it on. Jenny?
Well, Miss Marsh really made me do a poem in class, and I was like, I don't know what to write about. So then I was like, I guess I could write about me coming out to my parents and all that stuff, and then I got inspiration from music and all that stuff. So I guess it was just Miss Marsh who made me start writing.
I actually have no idea, but I suppose one of the biggest parts would be help from teachers, you guys, everybody. Yeah.
Mine would be help from Miss Gerber, because we actually had to write a paper for her class, and I wrote this paper. It was a little bit different, but I wrote it, and then Miss Gerber said, "You should really do Writers Week. I think you would love it." So shout out to Miss Gerber.
I knew I wanted to do Writers Week, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so it just took time to find a little bit of inspiration and then some enthusiasm from friends and family.
Kind of like Emma, I knew I kind of wanted to do Writers Week, but I decided to use one of my college essays. So this is a piece I submitted for my college essay, yeah. Can I comment that?
All right, next question. Kylie, any luck? Found something you want to share? All right, let's do it. We have Kylie's hand one more time.
I wasn't really expecting this, but I wrote something a while back. Because you know how we have Christmas carols and we have music for Halloween? We never have anything for Thanksgiving. And it's kind of upsetting, actually. So I'm not gonna sing because I respect you guys and I don't want to hurt your ears. So I think I'll just read this as a poem, if that's okay? All right, so... No, it's really okay. You guys don't. No, it's okay. No, guys, I love you, so that's why I'm not singing. All right, so let's just go. I'll say it really fast if that makes it better. All right, sure. All right. Wandering through the snowy field, my mind tried to go to a place of the distant past, filled with wind and snow. My dreams were broken as my heart was open, with words not spoken to me. I try to rein in my sanity. The past is as dark as the shadows, falling from the trees. The wind is a distant rattle over the sparkling leaves, a place of despair, trapped with fear, and a cage of broken rage. All gave way today, a day of giving thanks. I kneel at the altar of the family tree, wrought with twinkling stars, as my family found me. It's not where you come from, it's not times long past, it's your future, and it's the times made to last. Follow your dreams and your passion will hold true. So happy Thanksgiving from me to you.
All right, I have one more question, then I'll open up to the audience and see if you guys have any questions for the presenters. Next question, favorite part of Writers Week, and it could be perhaps something you were looking forward to the most this week, or something that you've seen in the past, or something that you just really love about Writers Week. A lot of words.
I was honestly really nervous about coming here and like doing this, but you guys are awesome. And that's it.
I always wanted to do Writers Week since freshman year, and I never got the inspiration to really do it. And then junior year, I got the inspiration from my friends to do it. Shout out to them, they're right in front row. And I wanted to write a lot, but I never got the inspiration until I got into creative composition. And then I got pushed by my teacher to do it, so I was like, okay, fine, I guess I'll try it, and if I don't get it, that's fine, that's actually great. But I made it, so here I am now.
Going on what she said, I didn't really know what I was doing either. It was sort of just a thing that kind of happened. Not sure what else to say, so here you go, Rosie.
I was excited for Writers Week because as a freshman, everybody was like, oh, Writers Week is the best week at Friend. And I didn't really know what it was except for called Writers Week. But I was excited because I've heard so many good things about it, and it's really cool. And I loved the past of this week yesterday, and I'm excited for the rest of this week.
I really like the diversity of the pieces that you hear this week. It's like the adult speakers and with the students. I think it's really interesting to hear like their take on what they're passionate about.
I really like just being able to share my piece with all of you guys, and the hospitality room with all the good food is pretty cool too.
Okay, question or two from the audience. We got one up here. What do you got? Shout it out. Yep. Did you hear that, Emma? The question was, Emma, what was your favorite article that your mom has shown you?
I have to think about that. There's so many. I mean, probably this one. I know it's a boring answer. Sorry, Kelly. But yeah, usually they're like more along the lines of like science and like changing the future. But you know, I know. Sorry.
Okay, another one over here. Oh yeah, here we go. Kylie, have you ever thought about rapping?
I'm honored that you asked me that. I don't think I'm the type of person that you would expect to go up and like start a rapping career, so probably not as like a future career, but I'm honored that you asked me that.
Maybe one more. Right in the middle, right here. Go ahead, yep.
Did you look into anything about the gun violence in Chicago? Because there are many reasons why there's high rates
I think that was just an article that she was talking about, right? In terms of the gun violence? You can answer it? All right.
Yeah, so you asked about why I mentioned it. It was more for just dramatic effect. I wasn't really like making a point or anything. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, I think that's good, right? In terms of time. We got one more up top. And that concludes second period. Again, round of applause for our presenters. Thank you.